This is Pivot Perspectives with Chris O'Byrne, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they've learned on their road to success, and get exclusive access on how to implement their success into your life and business. Pivot Perspectives is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Chris O'Byrne.
Hey, are you looking to scale your business from 5 figures to 6 figures or 6 figures to 7 figures? If you are, I have the perfect thing for you. What I want you to do today is I want you to go download a book. This book is going to take you through my 3-pillar system. It's 100% free. All you have to do is go to growfast.cash. I say again, go to growfast.cash, and you're going to be able to download my free international best-selling book, which is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. You can take that book. It's going to help you scale your business to the next level. Again, go download it. Be good, be brief, be gone. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. Enjoy.
This is my first time talking to you. What the hell do you do?
Oh my God, ask the hardest question of all at the very beginning. You know what? We're getting the hard shit out of the way. That works for me.
Yeah, then it's easy.
It's kind of hard to explain what you do unless you have an actual job. Like I make wheels, I make bricks or whatever. So when people ask me that, I'm like, I don't really know how to answer all the time. I just have to use other people's descriptions over the course of the past 30 plus years I've been doing this. And the main thing that I hear, and we can get into like how this happens and stuff, but is I have some weird ability or something, I don't know, that kind of, we all have life. And in that life, we have a bunch of grains of sand that are just shit and stuff people put in there, whatever. And then we have the grains of sand, or I'll call it the grains of glitter, the stuff that's actually us. And whenever I work with people, this one of the guys I mentored that was he's a big influencer guy. He's like, you just need 5 minutes and then that's it. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to do an hour-long phone call. It's too long. But he said he explained it in a way where it's like, whatever it is that happens, whatever we do, the principles that I teach and live by, it kind of just pulls all of you away from all of the shit that's not you. So then you have a platform, you have a foundation to start building your life and building your business and doing what you want to do from a place of authenticity, which is critically important because, I mean, it's a big buzzword. People throw it around all the time. It's authenticity hacks. Like, how the hell do you hack authenticity? You don't. It's there. It's just natural. You don't have to hack it. So, but when you're living your life in any capacity through business or relationships or even just self-reflection from a place of authenticity, I call it like your core energy signature. Everything just works better. You become, it's actually measured. I don't know, the fancy people that have a lot bigger brains and higher IQs than me have some sort of equipment that can measure human energy. And the most powerful energy that's emitted from a human being is authenticity. That's the most attractive, powerful energy. So obviously, of course, if you're coming from a place of that type of energy, you're going to do better in life. Your well-being is going to expand. Everything's going to be better. So what I do is I teach people how to think in a way that we're designed to think, because the thinking is what activates the whole mechanism, the thinking, and then it creates the feelings and the actions and so on and so forth. And when you're doing this, most of the time people do this with the input coming in from, you got to have this kind of bag, or you're a loser, or this much money, or you suck, or you got to live there, or you suck, or all that kind of garbage. None of that is really, people don't really generate that themselves. People don't really know what they are. Who they are changes, but what they are, the power that they have to create with their purpose, all this stuff. People don't really know that, because why? No one's ever said, what lights you up? What, when you get into the goo of you, what actually makes you feel alive? What life is expressed through you that makes you go, yeah, this is amazing? No one ever asked you that. It's like, you go to school, it's structured education. You're going to learn what we tell you to learn, how all that stuff. So it's really, in our world, there's really not a lot of places where people just kind of say, what are you? What lights you up? And that's, in a nutshell, kind of what I do. It's not specific. I can't speak is what I do, It's not a specific problem. That's what people ask me all the time. Well, what, I can't, I mean, I'm not going to teach you how to play tennis better or make $1 trillion or whatever, because I don't help a problem per se. I help a condition, and a condition that we all have. And so it's hard to like dial in exactly what I do, because people want to know, like, I have 7 steps to help people make $1 million in 10 years. What I don't get that shit out. It's not my wheelhouse. So I don't know if that explains it or answers it, but that's kind of the best I can come up with right now.
Yeah, no, you pretty much left a whole lot more questions than I had answers. So I'm going to dig in deeper. So you help people think, but I mean, clearly it's more than that, because that's what, college is supposed to do and all that. But you help them think more about understanding what it is that what they are, what makes them, what lights them up, what thinking about what it is they want to do or who they are. How would you narrow down that thinking part?
Well, I help people think how they're naturally designed to think, but in a way with intention and awareness, because we're thinking all the time anyway. That never stops. I mean, the chaos in our brains is would be like the ultimate binge Netflix series. If we could climb in like 40 people's brains, just watch what's going on, that'd be crazy. But what I mean by that is that it's not necessarily helping people think. I teach them how to think. And what that means, if you look at like the Power Life Principles, my book, I'm a #1 best-selling author of my book, The Power Life Principles. The first principle is highest energy wins. And there's so much stuff out there, and there's so many little cliches and quotes and like whatever. I can't. I'm not good with this stuff, because I'm kind of like a rebel in this industry. But like where attention goes, energy flows. All these little things, right? Well, it's true. I mean, they're quotes for a reason. But what the hell does it mean? And how the hell do you use it? How do you make that benefit you? What's the usefulness of that idea, or that, not even idea, of that principle? What's the usefulness of it? When you get just through principle 1 of this highest energy wins, people always mistake it for, especially in the spiritual world, like highest frequency wins. It's not the highest frequency. Energy is in its simplest form. There's 2 components. There's frequency and amplitude. So the rate at which the energy is oscillating, and the volume basically at which the energy is oscillating. It's the volume that matters, not the frequency, because you can turn up the bass all the way and turn the treble all the way down. Treble's super high frequency, bass is super low frequency. Well, the low frequency is going to win in that, right? So when you start to get just a little bit of awareness, like what's happening in here, and how fast you can change it and control that energy system, you got to pull away from the wild a little bit, because out there it's not easy to do. There's a lot of noise. But when you start to grasp this and start to practice this, just like with weights, and you do repetitions, and you do these little processes and these little exercises and use these tools, you become able to think in a way that makes your body, all of your body, your whole system work as it's designed to work. So you think a certain way, it produces a certain feeling, that feeling produces a certain action. This is all pretty common knowledge for most people, not common practice for most people, but common knowledge. And so when you put the right stuff on the top, then the only possible option is more of the right stuff comes out the end, the result. The intangible turns into the tangible. So there's all this stuff about law of attraction and manifestation and all these crazy buzzwords that have been kind of bastardized in this industry, like law of attraction and it's magic and whatever, and manifestation. You can just close your eyes, blink 3 times, and snap, and there's pots of gold and Italian sports cars in your driveway and all this nonsense. It's not how it works. It's not even close. Like even manifestation itself, that word, if you look it up in the dictionary, it's just defined as to make aware to the senses, especially sight. So manifesting is really just an awareness of what? Of whatever the hell you're thinking about, because everything's already here, right? Like the car that you drive used to be in a mountain somewhere, and they had to mine out the metal and all the stuff, and they had to go drip out the rubber tree for the tires. It's all already here. Everything on this earth is of this earth. We've taken earth and we've manipulated it to our needs and laid it on top of earth to make our civilization and our lives, right? So it's not about even the attraction stuff isn't the stuff. The attraction stuff is people that have access to the stuff, people that have resources that you don't have. So the whole thing about thinking is just to kind of start to think about what you're thinking about and realize what it's doing. There's no way we can go all the way down into this in this call, because it's a whole different training.
Yeah. Yeah.
The general idea is to think about what you're thinking about and realize that what that's actually creating in your life. As soon as you do that and you acknowledge it, accept it, own it, and even sometimes forgive yourself for it, it changes everything. You become empowered. You become empowered to actually use the power that you are to create the life that you want.
Why do you care about this, and why do you care enough to help other people learn this?
Thank you for asking that. Like, no one ever asks that. That's a great question, and it's what matters to me. So I appreciate the question.
Yeah.
Because if you go through the Power Life principles, principle 11, the last principle, is called pass the torch. And what that really means is that the way that we elevate humanity is we elevate ourselves. And what I mean by that is most people are living a life that's not theirs. They don't know what they actually want because no one's ever given them the space or the chance or permission or even the question, like, what do you truly want? Like, what do you want? Well, I want to be a doctor. All those answers come from usually other people barking in their ear about what they should be or what they want, right? So no one really knows. It's insane. I've been on stages and I've asked, what do you want? Well, I don't want this, and I don't like this, and this sucks. I'm like, okay, so go down the whole list of what you don't want. What that tells me and everybody else, it's kind of obvious, is that there's a lot of people that are trapped in the darkness of their own mind, and they don't know. And so when you are able to help somebody kind of just chip off some of those calcified layers of shit around their heart and their mind that have been put there by everybody else, that's kind of dimming their own light, their torch is what I call it, their light is kind of dim, and sometimes it gets to the point where it's just an ember. Well, I grew up in that life. I got lost in that life. I started doing drugs and alcohol at 12, and I went crazy. I checked myself into rehab 3 months before my 17th birthday, and whole bunch of dramatic stuff. But what I know is the first part of my life up until probably like 17 years old. So the first 17 years of my life were lived in that darkness. And I know what it feels like to know that you're more, feel that you're more, feel like there's something inside of you, know that you have a purpose, but not know what the hell it is, have no idea how to even figure out like how to find it, which I can explain that in 10 seconds for everybody, but that's another thing. And just to feel that way. So then what do we have? We have all this world full of people. And we are each other's greatest gifts and assets. We definitely are. That's what matters. Like, if you had all the stuff, all the money, all the gold, all the glory, the girl, the guy, the glamour, the glitz, everything, but there's no one to share it with, you have nothing. So it doesn't really matter, right? So we are that. But there's a world full of people who, good people, good lives. I mean, you wouldn't look at them and think anything's wrong because we all put on the happy face stickers. Yay, everything's good. But they're, and they can have a good life. They can look from the outside looking in. It looks like, man, they got their shit together. But then when they're alone, and I've talked to many people like this, they're suicidal. They're miserable. They're not happy. They make millions of dollars, have all the stuff, the cars, the mansions, all the stuff, whatever, the relationships, but they're still not happy because they're not in touch with that authenticity. So what I mean by pass the torch and why I care about this is because two reasons. One selfish and one selfless, and it doesn't matter which one drives you. You can do this for an altruistic reason, like I'm going to save the world, or you can do it for a selfish reason. I'm going to make my life as amazing as I can. Either way, the outcome is the same, because when more of us start to amplify our own light, when more of us start to become authentic and just live from our true selves and not hide anything, just be honest and just be open, then it gives other people a beacon of hope that are way off in the distance, trapped in this dark forest of death. They don't know which way to go, looking around, they can't say anything. And then they go, oh, look at that, there's a little sparkle. Well, that's someone else's light, someone else's torch. And it gives them a reason. It gives them something to focus on, a focal point that gives them enough drive, enough energy, enough courage, enough whatever it is that they need to take a step towards it. And then they take another step towards it. And each step they take, they start to build more confidence and all that kind of stuff. And they get to this light, and they got this little bitty stick. And they're like, oh, hello, sir or ma'am. Can I please touch my stick to your flame? Of course you can. It takes nothing from me. Nothing. You light your thing. Yours is on fire. Mine's on fire. It just makes more light for everybody. And so somewhere along the way, I was able to find my way out of that and build, like, my biggest dream came true. I built a great life. And I just know there's a lot of people that are out there in this world that are kind of like trapped in darkness, even though it doesn't look like that from the outside looking in, but from the inside looking out, they're trapped in that space. And if I can help them kind of crack off the stuff, not become themselves. Not how do you become yourself? How does an apple become more of an apple? It's an apple, dude. It's what it is. You can't become more of yourself, but you can start chipping away all the things that aren't you, and then what's left is just you. And if you get people to that point and they become empowered, it's like I don't even want to say the word because it's like a little like dramatic, but I mean, miracles happen. I've watched it happen over and over and over again. Like, people that have been in my mentoring group and I've mentored, just stuff that like musicians that, get their song on the radio. That's a big deal. That's like a hard thing to do. People becoming millionaires, people becoming, even leaving relationships, getting in new ones, just these little things in life that aren't so little to the people that are doing them, their own dreams. But they seem like some things seem almost insignificant, but it's not insignificant, because what happens, the more that starts to shine through, the more you chip away, the more you're living from your authenticity, the more you radiate and emanate all of the things that are of value to this world, and comply with the natural laws of nature that govern life, which isn't competition, it's not destruction, it's not all this shit. It's the natural way we work is like a living organism, is cooperation, preservation, love, support, these kinds of things. When the human race starts to act more and more like this, it elevates all of humanity, even just a tiny bit, but a tiny bit collectively is a lot. And my hope or my vision or my delusion maybe is that we can continue to just successively and progressively elevate a little bit, so we get beyond the point where the energy powers, whatever, that control people's minds no longer have an impact, and people are just free to be themselves. So there's lots of reasons I do this. There's lots of reasons I care, but the most is because I know how shitty it feels to know that you have more to offer, to contribute, to know that if you did this one thing, you would be living on purpose and you would be full. And when you're full, what happens when you have a full cup of water and you keep dumping water, and what naturally happens, the water overspills into wherever it is. When we're full as human beings, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, our bodies are okay. We have enough of the crazy biosurvival tickets, money to survive all this. And we're full, that energy of life naturally emanates out and it touches other people. And I think we all can have a small impact on everybody in our proximity. And then it just creates this ripple effect that blankets the globe. And I've watched it happen time and time again. And it's a beautiful thing. And for whatever reason, it matters to me, probably because I know how scary and hard and bad it feels to be stuck in that darkness and not have a way out.
This seems like a lot of work. Isn't there like an easy formula I could follow to get to this?
What I teach is very simple. It's not easy. None of this is easy. I mean, is it work? Yeah, it's work, but it was work to get to where you're at. It was work to get, it doesn't matter if whatever your life looks like right now, it took work to get there. So it's not like we're going to avoid the work. The work, there's a point when the effort and the work become less discipline. It feels less like discipline and duty, and it shifts over into like inspiration, ambition, and drive. I call it the 51% mark along this process. What I teach is very simple. Because it had to be, because my story is like, it's really dramatic, but I was pretty much like on borrowed time. It had to be simple or I wouldn't have been able to do it. Because I learned all this stuff in the trenches. I didn't learn it through reading books or I didn't know that stuff even existed when I was going through this process of transformation myself. But a simple formula to follow. The power life principles. That's how you work as a human being. Highest energy wins, and you got duality, and you have perspectives and attraction, and then the crazies and the whole thing. It's a very simple formula, and if you do it and you focus on what the task at hand is and the process at hand is, I've never in my life not seen it create a shift in trajectory, a complete transformation, a massive gain of clarity, things like this that help people kind of break free from some of that weight they're carrying, and they just move forward in life there. So that question, I would never blow smoke at people's ass and say, yeah, there's a 3-step formula to that. There's not, because how do you know? Every single person is different. What I teach is principle based. It's not how to dribble a basketball better. It's not that. It's principle based. It's a condition. It's a foundation for how we work. You understand how you work. You understand what's happening. You understand why it's happening. All of a sudden you become empowered to work more optimally as you're designed to work. So is there a simple formula? Kind of, or easy formula? No. I mean, yeah, simple, yes, but easy, no. I don't like to mislead people, because then you kind of set them up to fail. Because you don't know everybody. People have different intelligence levels. They have different emotional capacity. They have different physical strength and physical abilities. Some people are super good at drawing. Some people, I can't draw a stick man right. It's like everybody has our own unique talents and abilities and gifts. So there's not really a formula to maximize those things, unless you go to the source that's doing it, which is you. That's what I focus on, is the source that creates all this stuff. It's very simple. Sometimes it's so simple that our brains go, nah, dude, get out of here with that shit. That's not, but it's true. That's one of the hardest things to grasp, with how simple it is. Is it easy? Not at first, but this is what I want to leave this with. Think of a push-up. Simple as can be. I mean, you get on the ground, push yourself up. But if all you've lifted for the past 20 years is a fork full of heavy, cheesy burrito, and then you try to do a push-up, it's not going to be easy. You might not even be able to do one, but just the act of trying, just the act of pushing, it's strengthening your muscles. Every time you do it, it's a successive progression. Pretty soon you're doing lots of push-ups. So simple, but not easy.
That makes sense. So when somebody starts working with you, what is that process like? What do you put them through?
Oh man, there's so many just terrible 7th grade sense of humor jokes going through my head right now. I got to stay focused, Michael. I only call myself Michael when I get in trouble. I just got in trouble.
I had that happen when you talked about touching your stick to somebody else's stick. It was like, I'm not going to go there.
See, you got to keep it fun, man. So generally speaking, when people start working with me, the very first thing we focus on, I always, you have to have a target. You have to have something that you can focus on, something that you can direct all this energy to, because there's a specific reason for that. So you call it a goal, call it objective, call it a vision, call it a target, call it whatever you want to call it. I call it a target because target has concentric rings, and I teach people how to get to the bullseye, because that's the hardest part to hit. But you have to have that. So you have to have a big promise to yourself, or something that you want to achieve, something that you want to focus on externally, because there's a relationship with your internal and external world. And what we do is we make the internal world is where it starts. So we have to define and get clarity on what you actually want. It doesn't have to be the end all, and it usually isn't. You don't start this, you don't go to the gym and do a sit-up and go, why the hell don't I have abs? This is bullshit. Because you did one sit-up, relax. So, but people want this magic button where they push it and everything's no, that's not. The magic button is every single step you take. But you have to have something to focus on, because here's why. We all have life. We have families. We have kids. We have jobs. We have businesses. We get sick. Tires get flat. Whatever happens, tornadoes rip through. Shit happens. Everyone gets lifed all the time. So nobody has I'm all in. No, you're not. No one ever goes all in for any kind of long duration. All in isn't a long burn. All in is a fucking nitrous boost, just for a second, right? So no one goes all in, because you can't. You have life. So what the hell do you do then? This is why a focal point or a target is so critical. Because if you look at the sun. The sun's a big ass ball of gas and fire and awesomeness, and it heats up and makes light and all this stuff. And it's like you can't get anywhere near it, or you just vaporize into nothing, get burned up. But it's so powerful that it could swallow our planet, all this stuff. But we can walk around in it freely, because it's just emanating energy 360 degrees all out from it, and it hits our earth at a certain whatever all the science stuff is. But if you take a magnifying glass and you put it under the sun's rays just right, it takes some of that energy, a minuscule amount of that sun's energy, and it focuses it so intensely, it becomes potent enough to burn the whole world down, that beam of light. So if you have a target that you can narrow your focus on while you apply these principles and these processes, then you don't need a whole bunch of energy to make it happen. You don't need a whole bunch of energy to transform your life. You're not going to do all of it in one swing of the bat, grand slam home run that scores you 800 runs. That's not how it works. But I'm telling you, if you have a focal point and you go through the process, what you're doing is training your mind, you're training your heart, you're training your body, and you're actually creating real life, tangible evidence in your physical world that you're creating this, that you can do it, that you can make some money, that you can write some stuff, that you can find love, that you can lose some weight, gain some weight, whatever it is you want. You have evidence in front of you. And when you have evidence in front of you that you did something, your mind's like, okay, game over, open the valve, this is safe, it works. And then it allows that just to amplify and expand more and more and more over time as your strength and capacity matches that expansion. So you gotta have a target. So the first thing we do is we figure out what that is. And it could be anything. It sounds so silly, but I don't care if your target is to make the perfect ham and cheese sandwich. People are like, what kind of bullshit goal is that? It's not about the goal. It's about the process. It's about doing the moves, practicing the process, and doing this with something that's not threatening, something that's absolutely 100% achievable. It becomes less threatening to your mind, which is the security team. Then all the talk, all the psycho shit going on. You can't do this. You suck. All that stuff. It just goes away. But when you do it once or twice, you realize, okay, wait a minute. I can apply this to anything. Yeah, you can. And you should. So the first thing we do is we get a target. Once we get a target, then we just go through the Power Life principles and processes and just start to learn how to focus more on that, what to do with it, how to link all your energy systems around it, and the whole thing to where at the end of it, the only possible outcome I've never not once seen it work. The only possible outcome is more of that thing in your life. Even if you don't achieve the pinnacle of the perfect ham and cheese sandwich, it's just so silly, but you still are so much closer than you were before you started. And it doesn't take you don't have to neglect your kids or kill yourself or sleep 1 hour a day because you got you don't have to do any of that stuff. You don't have to do that. So first thing is we find out what you want, what lights up your soul, what really makes you, what makes you come alive. What are you? Not who. Because once you know what you are, which is this combination of energy systems and how that works, you can become whoever you want. So first things, always most critical thing is we have to have a target. It doesn't have to be some grandiose thing. It could be anything. All that matters in choosing this thing is that it matters to you. And then if it matters to you, we're off to the races.
What are some of the ways that you help people achieve that target?
Well, the first one, the biggest one, is to figure out what the hell it is. Because once you know, and once that, everybody's had this thing, they've had an idea in the shower or whatever, and oh man, this is amazing. And they forget when they get out and dry off usually, but they have this great idea in the shower or something like that happens, and they get lit up a little bit. But what happens is that energy is just so fleeting that if you don't capture it, if you don't know what to do with it, if you don't know how to amplify it, it's just going to keep passing right by you, and you're going to keep going and going and going. So you have to build a container for this stuff. So I teach this program or this training called the energy triad, and it talks about your mental energy, your emotional energy, and your physical energy, and how your mental and emotional energy for most people is this war, it's this battle. It's like, man, your heart's a dreamer. Man, I want to do this. I want to build this big business, or I want to, whatever it is, I want to X. I want to do this thing that matters to me. Okay. And your brain's like, oh, no. That's dangerous. That's risky. That's scary. Nope, not going to happen. Shut up. But I want it. No, but I want it. It's this battle. It's this fight all the time, with your mind and your heart. When these two things align, which is the first thing we help do, is make these things align. I'll take them through the process of the energy triad and talk about the mental energy and then your emotional energy. When those two things align, it connects a circuit. So now the energy is flowing back and forth through this thing. And when that happens, it creates what's called activation energy. It's actually a scientific term in biology. When there's so much stuff, something has to happen, like a pot being boiled, and there's so much steam, it has to come out. Activation energy in humans is the same thing. It's biological. When there's so much energy that there's just no more space for it, it has to be expressed. And we do that through a physical action. And that physical action, when it's back aligned with how you feel and what you're thinking and your target, what your desire is, then now that's connected. And then once you take the action, if I had a whiteboard, I'd be drawing it out right now. Once you take the action, it creates a result, whether it's a win, a loss, whatever. It's information for your mind to go, hey, something happened. This is working. All right. Now you've connected all three of your primary energy systems. Your mind creates your life. Your heart fuels it. Your mental energy creates your life. Your emotional energy fuels it. Your physical energy builds it. So then now, as you start to create this process, there's a feedback loop in your outer world that's giving you reassurance and evidence that this is working. So then the internal stuff starts to percolate, and not percolate, but expand more and more and more and more. So the process, how we do that, is just to get focused. And then I have a training called, really the Power Life Challenge is where this first part of this is. It's about target practice. It's about, we go through and we identify all the things in life that you don't want, right? That's pretty easy because there's a reason that we start there. Because if you've ever played darts or shot guns or whatever, you got the outer ring, you got the inner ring, and the bullseye. What's the hardest part to hit? It's the bullseye. that's the part that you don't hit as much. The outer ring you hit all the time. So why defy how nature works? And let's just use things how they work. Most people could rattle off shit they don't want all day long. I don't like my job. I don't like my shoelaces. I don't like my paint color or whatever. People do that all day long. It's easy. Why? Because it causes pain. And when there's pain, if we're sitting here together and I poked you in the finger with a pin, that's the only part of your body you'd even be aware of in that moment, because the pain makes you focus. So when you have mental pain or emotional pain that's very much contained and you don't walk around like, whoa, it's me. Some people do, but most people don't walk around like that. So it's very much contained. So when you have a way to express that and get it out of you, now you can look at it and go, oh my God, here's all the things. Then it's a simple process of using the principle of duality and going, let's pick one. Pick your weight or whatever. I don't like my how I feel because I'm overweight or I'm not strong enough or whatever it might be. Cool. What's the opposite of that? I want to be fit and energetic and healthy and lean and vibrant and strong and confident, whatever. That's the opposite. Okay, cool. Now we have a target. So that's what you want. Then that's what we start focusing on. And everything is revolved and focused around that in this particular area of their life. So I'm not sure if that answered the question, but it's something.
Looking to grow your business beyond 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures plus? What I want you to do is go download this book. The title is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. It will help you grow your business past 5, 6, and 7 figure. Go download the book today. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and download the book for absolutely free.
Oh yeah, I did. And I wonder if there's a metaphor here in what I'm going to share, which is when I was trying to, at one point, teach myself how to shoot a slingshot better, the method I was taught was start up really close to the target so you can't miss that bullseye, and then work your way back further and further. And then at some point, you're still hitting that target because you've started at the right place. What do you think?
I think you just nailed it. I love how all these things it's so crazy. If you look at how nature works, all of it works the same. We all function the exact same way. We have a different experience with that function for sure, but we all function the same way. And the bullseye in Power Life, in our target, is how you want to feel. So when you start there and you work your way out, that's where we start. That's what we get to. The outer ring's what you don't want. The inner ring's what you do want. The bullseye is how you want to feel. Right. Yeah. So I don't want all this stuff. Okay, well, I want this. And if I have that, or when I have that, why do I want that? What would that do if my life looked like that, had this in it? How would that make me feel? It would make me feel something that I say yes to or no to. If it's a yes, you're done. That's how you want to feel. Then we cultivate that feeling and we start from the inside out. It's exactly the slingshot metaphor is perfect.
Awesome. So how long do you usually work with someone?
I don't know if there's a typical time frame. I've had, because it just depends on what they want. Because there's people that I've been working with for 5 years now that continue to elevate and elevate and elevate because they realize it takes more than 3 days to make a transformation and some results. So they go through the process and they elevate. They get to a new level, and then now their new normal is their lows are higher than their old highs. They get that and like, okay, now I'm here. since I'm here, I now have the confidence, capacity, ability, skill set, all the things I've acquired to get to here, that I can go to there now. It depends on what people want, because some people get to a certain place in life and they're good. And I always say this: if you're good, just be good. You've won the game for now. That might change later, but if you're good, if you're good with the money you make, good with the relationship you have, good with your body, good with how you feel, just be good, because that's what everybody's chasing. I mean, that's all that drives anybody, is they want to feel good, they want to feel better, or sometimes they just want to feel less shitty. But that's what drives everyone. So when they get there, they're good. I'll still work with them, because principle 10 is about, use it or lose it, or you're either expanding, maintaining, or atrophying. You're either like growing, maintaining, or atrophying. So when people get to where they want to get, just like you go to the gym, you reach your goals, you don't stop going to the gym. You just don't go there to gain, you go there to maintain. So people have come in my ecosystem for 6 months, a year, 2 years, left, and like, what the hell is happening? Everything's falling apart. And they come back, what's going on? I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm like, you're doing none of the stuff that you did in here that got you where you're at. So they want, it's just like, this is going to be a horrible reference maybe, but it's like why people go to church, to get that God in them every week or whatever, that kind of thing. This information, this energy, this love, this support that you get, and this empowerment you get, it's not something that you get once and it's done. It's a lifestyle. And so people will choose whatever they choose. So it's anywhere from 2 weeks for just a simple little challenge type thing, up to 5 years. I've had private clients for 2 years plus. It's just, there's no real good answer for that. Sorry, I'm rambling about that.
No, that's all right. So are there any tips or tricks? So let's say like you don't have a lot of time to work with somebody, and let's just say they're a copywriter and they just want to be a good copywriter. They know what they want, they're focused, they've got that figured out. What is some sort of tip or trick that you would give them just to kind of make things a little better, to up their game a little?
I love it, man. I love it, especially for writing. If you're a writer, copywriter, any kind of writer, if you express information or energy through words, through writing words, the biggest tip I could give anybody is to feel what you're writing. Because what the hell is a word? A word is just a little capsule of data. And it's like those little capsules you pull apart, empty them out, put some shit in there and make it whatever. It's just a capsule of data. When you say the word love and there's 100 people, you're going to get 100 different interpretations back from that word. So words have inherent, like, collective agreed upon meaning. Like hot is hot, but hot's different for everybody. Some people are like, oh my God, it's 62 degrees. You're wearing a parka. What are you talking about? But hot is hot, and everybody's experience of hot is going to be the same. It's too hot. It hurts. Don't touch. What that temperature is going to be different. But words, man, words words have the power to create destinies, to destroy lives, to elevate people, to do so much. So when you're writing, there's an art and a science to writing, especially things like copy. Like there's technical things, there's scientific stuff, methods, that kind of shit. But the crux of it is, however you need to do it, you need to find a way to feel something that is going to be beneficial to the reader. So if they're reading these words you're writing, if you're writing just for me, like, look how great I am, that kind of shit, that's not really going to do much. But if you're writing because you're selling, I can't think of anything, a weight loss thing, whatever. Okay. Then you need to understand like who you're talking to and feel the compassion for these people's problems, feel the frustration and the struggle, not just write the words. People can craft those words all day long. There's masterful people that can craft those words. Then they can be sociopaths, they can be whatever, it doesn't matter. But if you really want to connect with people, then you have to realize every word you speak, every word you write is a little data capsule. And in that capsule is information, energy, and feeling. Like there's some sort of feeling to every single word. And I did this a long time ago where I broke down, just for my own self-awareness. When I first started my journey, I looked at words. I looked at my thoughts. Thoughts are just words, really. They're imagery, but they're still words. And I looked at my words, and I looked at every single one of them. and I broke them down. And so I said, I'm hungry. Okay, what's I'm? It's a conjunction for what? I am. What's I? I am Mike. I'm a person. Who's Mike? He's a man. And I just went down, 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 down. And I don't recommend this to anybody unless you have like a sadistic personality and a lot of time, because I was able to do it because at that time in my life, I didn't have a family and responsibility. I could just like go off in the fucking field and sit there and do this shit. But I did it for a whole year. And I realized that every single word has some association, some link that activates some physical sensation on my body somewhere. And I'm like, God, these things have power, man. They have a lot of power. And so I thought, well, what would happen if I just purposefully crafted something, wrote myself a letter to myself, coming from a place of just wanting to give myself this love in my heart, this support, this compassion. And I wrote this thing and I read it and I'm crying. I'm reading a letter to myself. I wrote to myself and I'm crying. I'm like, this dude's cool, man. This guy's awesome. He gets me. He loves me. And it's fucking me. It's me doing it. But then I realized, like, man, it's crazy. There's so much power in here in these words. And I thought, okay, I'm going to write like that from now on. And you know, people will message me, whatever, like, dude, I swear to God, my computer was going to melt when I was reading what you wrote. I'm like, yeah, because there's energy in those words. I'm nowhere to be found. I might be out playing pool or doing in the kayak, I'm in the lake, whatever. But they read those words, and that energy that you put in those words stays there forever. Yeah, it's trapped in that capsule. So really, when you're writing, just get in touch with your heart, because you know, give your mind a break for a minute, because you're, especially copywriting, those kind of things, you're thinking it can be a lot of mental gymnastics, getting the stuff structured right, all that kind of thing. How do you feel? Like, how do you feel when you write this stuff? Because whatever that is, it's going to come out into it. If you're really super good at writing copy, you can be having the worst day of your life, feel like shit, write it, and still get some good results from it. But if you're really super good or even subpar at it, but you put that emotional energy into these words and you really actually find a way to give a shit, it's I don't know the exact number. I'm going to say at least 10 times more powerful in getting through the cracks in people's shields. So it's because you really do want to help them with this content. It's important. The science is just the structure. The art is the transformation of the transportation system of energy back and forth to people.
You know, I've often thought about that energy thing with words, and I mean, I know they have energy, but you know, especially when you start using like, oh, use these power words. You know, when you're copywriting, these are the power words, and you have a list, and there's books about it. And I'm like, and it's that exact same thing. It's all that energy that's contained in those words. And you're right. You don't even have to be there anymore. The words themselves have that energy. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah, they hold it. They hold on to it. It's just whatever you put in that capsule, like the word fuck, it's like the most diverse word in the human language. If you walked into your house every day, this is a good. If you have a dog, this is perfect. If you walked into your house every day and just got mad and said, spoon, a spoon. I eat ice cream and soup and shit, a spoon. And you just feel this like, whatever. You can walk around your house if you do that at long enough time and just say, spoon. And your dog's going to be like, oh shit, what's going on? Right?
Yes.
Dogs are the perfect litmus test. So whenever you're feeling something and you put that energy into that capsule of that word to transfer information back and forth to each other, that energy's in there. And people feel it. You know, it's sometimes, I can't tell you how many times that people written me back like, oh my God, I'm reading this in tears. And I'm like, what the hell is it? I have to go back and read it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. I don't even know, because I write from my heart. Yeah. I'm more of an artistic type of writer than a science type, but I'm telling you, from, you know, decades of experience, you can't really top that. If you know the structure and you know, like the power words and all these things, which they get burned out and watered down to over time.
Yeah.
But if you know that and you're doing this too, you've upped your game. To whatever, you know, by orders of magnitude you probably can't even measure.
So let's talk now success stories. Tell me some stories of people that are just fantastic results.
Oh man, another one that's hard for me, because I always tell people, like, don't give me the credit. You're the hero. You're the one that put on your armor, got your shield, draw your sword. And I just said, here's the opening, go that way and I'll guide you, but you got to fight all the dragons and shit. I'm not doing any of that. I'll spot you, but you're lifting the weights. So I it's hard for me I'll tell you some success stories, but I want to preface it with like, this is in part because of my guidance, because of my support, my wisdom, my experience with life, and my energy and my love for these people. But it's that is part. I'm not going to dismiss my part in it, but the real bulk of these things goes to these people. They're the champions. They're the heroes. Like there's a guy, I'm going to leave some names out because they want to be left out. There's a guy that was dealing with he had a terminally ill wife and dad and a brother that was mentally ill, like real challenges. Not like he got the wrong fucking ketchup at McDonald's, he's going to kill himself because he's like can't handle that shit. But like real stuff. And he went through and started applying this and doing this stuff. And really what he wanted was the ability to take care of his family. And so he focused on doing some work and then a little side thing. And his side thing, he started to apply these principles and doing this stuff. And before you know it, he's in this world working with celebrities, doing some fantastic stuff. I'm going to keep this one a little ambiguous because he wants to stay anonymous. And then he became he messaged me one day. He's like, "Hey, Mike, I got to tell you something." I'm like, "What's up? Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I can't believe this, man. Like, I just looked at my bank account and I have over $1 million in my bank account." And I'm like, "Good for you, man. Good for you." And it empowered him and enabled him to do what mattered to him, take care of his family. Right. That was a different thing. That's a big one. Another one, one of my favorite ones is a lady named Emily in Hawaii. She's a school teacher for throwaway kids, for kids that they're either going to go to like the little juvie, the kid prison, or they're going to her class, or they get out of kid prison and they have to go to her class. So she's like, this is like the bottom of the barrel. It's like me when I was a kid. Nobody wanted to be around us. We were just trouble. Everybody's like, oh God, these people. And they think all these stupid kids, like, oh, we're not stupid. We're not stupid at all. That's the problem, is like some of them are too intelligent to be bothered with the bullshit of school. And they don't have the right kind of home life. But this lady, she was teaching these kids, and she'd gone through a bunch of stuff, man, bought all kinds of things, and she bought my book and my little workshop, or not workshop, but worksheet, workbook that goes with it to kind of help. The very first revision of it, and it was horrible. My book was riddled with typos. There were no conjunctions. It was like you are, I am going to, instead of I am and yo and all this. It was awful. Typos at the ass. Even after it was edited, it was terrible. But anyway, that's a good point to make right now. My book was shit, but the energy in it was so powerful that before social media, it got into 63 countries around the world in the first 90 days, because it was so powerful, so impactful on people that they shared it with other people, and it just kind of like went viral before social media. So it's super cool. That's an important thing to understand. The words look like a drunk 7-year-old wrote that motherfucker. It was just like all over the place. It was crazy. But Emily, so she got all these things and she did all this stuff, and she's like, I'm not buying any more things. I'm not going through any more of this hooey, this bullshit. Everybody telling you this and that and the other thing. She says, for some reason, I don't know why, I bought your thing. It was like $50 or something. And she's like, I read it and I took it to school and I taught them principle 1, highest energy wins. And she goes, and she's like, I'm writing this in tears, Mike. This is like a week after. She's like, they get it. They understand. She's like, now whenever shit starts going crazy, we just start chanting, and like highest energy wins, whatever. The whole class is chanting. They've all come together. They've all all of them are opening up. And I followed, we talked throughout the whole school year. And these kids, she said, for the first time ever in their lives, they were coming to her in her whole career. It's like two plus decades of teaching. She said, this never happened. They came to me and they call her Miss. They say, Miss, I want to be a doctor. Miss, I want to be a mechanic. Miss, I want to be a nurse. Miss, and she's like just beside herself. It's like these kids like have hope for their future. They have hope for their future. They want to do stuff. They don't want it. Now that they have a target, a focal point, they have something they can focus on. All that new energy that's like really not safe for them to feel, because they always have their guard up because the world's always trying to get them. I lived that way, but now there's enough energy that it penetrated that, and they had that target, that focal point, and they started to do better. And then they did the testing at the end of the year, the testing that determines whether that program will get funding or not. And these kids scored higher than the rest of the school. And so the principal came in. This is great. He came in. He's like, all right, there's some shenanigans going on here. This is horse shit. And she's like, no, we did how we do it every year, gave them the test of the thing. It's like, well, they have to retake it. She's like, what? And they're so discriminating against these kids because they're, the bad kids, but whatever. And so they're like, all right. So she asked the class, they're like, yeah, we'll fucking retake it. Because they don't care. And so the principal had people in there monitoring them taking this test to make sure there's no cheating. They still scored higher than the rest of the class. And she's like, I don't know what's happening, Mike. This is amazing. And so she started to apply it in her own life. And then she had a little side business that started doing well. That's a really touching story, a success story for me because of the impact it had on these kids. And then Coyote, another guy, big guy, he lost 100 pounds. Sydney got her music on the radio. She's working with members from Billboard Top 40 artists, the band The Fray. Brian created a multi-million-dollar business, just suicidal, alcoholic, depressed, terrible marriage, starting off from that point, going to getting out of that marriage, getting his own house, building a multi-million-dollar business, buying his dream car, getting a new love, new life. He's going to live in life. He's hiking, lost a bunch of weight. That's kind of typically what happens to people. There's lots of them. I have stacks of stories, but there's a couple that just come to mind.
Yeah. That's pretty fascinating. And I think people will have trouble until they go through it, understanding how can something as simple as getting your focus right and understanding these principles, like the highest energy wins, how can that take them from their shitty life to something that is their dream life?
The answer is just as simple. And it's tough for some people until you experience it. Like, how do you explain something you never learned, or how do you explain something that can't be explained but has to be experienced? It's really hard. So till you experience it, it's kind of an ambiguous. You can observationally understand, but you can't intrinsically understand until you experience it. But I'll tell you how. I'll tell you how this happens, because I don't know the exact percentage. I'm going to say like 98, 99% of this population is not living their own life. They're living a life that someone else told them they should live. They're living a life because Gary Guru says you got to make $8 million a year. You're a piece of shit. Do you even market, bro? Do you even copyright, bro, or whatever? If you don't have this kind of relationship, 3.2 kids, 2.5 cars, this big house, all this stuff, and parents coming in. Like, if you're not a Dallas Cowboys fan, you're a fucking loser. And just all this shit we're bombarded with our whole lives. None of it is you. None of it. You didn't choose any of it. And all that's done over time is take like a bucket of cement and a trowel and just spackle. This is your layer. Like, what you are at your core is like a raw iron fence, like that, like this raw iron, just iron. But then here comes mom painting that shit white, dad's painting it green, your church is painting it red, and school's painting it yellow, another coat of white. Pretty soon you got this big ass fucking thing coated with all these layers of paint. Well, they're smothering you. And people don't seem to get this. Like, they think that they'll be happy when, right? And they think that when has to equal or match what Andrew Tate says or whatever the fuck, any person out there influencing people. But what they don't realize is once you live from your core, once you strip away enough of those layers of paint, so to speak, and get to where your own light, your own energy, your own default signature with its own palette of colors and its own special kind of music emanate out into the world. Once you get to that point and you start to paint your world with the colors from within your heart, I know it sounds a little cheesy, but stick with me. Then what do you see when you open your eyes? A world that's painted with your palette of colors, evidence that matches yours. And when that matches here and this matches there, you're in this world where you're full. It doesn't matter if you don't need to make $25 million a month. You don't need to do that. Most people don't even want to do that. I want to be a billionaire. No, you don't. No, you don't. You have no idea what that even means. You have no idea what it takes. You want to go to a restaurant and have to have security so you can eat a steak with your family. Someone's going to kidnap everybody to get ransom. There's all kinds of shit you don't know. You don't know. They're hearing what people say they should do, and they go, "That's what I should do." And it's not judgmental. Every single person has it. Our subconscious minds are programmed with other people's information. So how this works is when you start to get to your own light, your own energy, your own true desires and passions, because you're creating from that. And I'll caveat that I'll touch on that for a second about the creation part. But you're creating from that, you feel whole. you feel complete, you feel happy. There's no place for anxiety. It can't live in that environment. Depression can't live in that environment. You can get frustrated. You can get a little bit overwhelmed, but you instantly know, oh, that's a course correction. Overwhelm. I need help. Frustration. Okay, I'm looking at the wrong things. I need to back off, whatever. But you can't have this constant low-level state of like fear and anxiety and depression when you're living from your core energy. You just can't do it. So as you're creating, which I'll get to, let's talk about this for a sec. This really pisses people off or makes them go crazy sometimes. We all have the same purpose. And people are like, no, I'm special. I'm not saying you're not special, but we all have the same purpose. If you look at how a human being, just the function of how human beings work, we are creators. We're built to create. Everything we have in this world, we created. That's what we do. That's what stimulates our mind. That's what keeps us moving. It's what activates our emotions. We have electrical energy, chemical energy, and mechanical energy. It's what keeps all three of these energy systems working in harmony together, just like nature, for the good of the whole. And when we create things that support the good of the whole and the well-being of humanity and of our planet and of everything else, however far you want to go, you can't feel like shit. It's impossible. You cannot feel like shit. So if you feel like you don't have enough, or you feel like you're not enough, or all the kind, that can't live in that ecosystem. So what we're doing is literally creating an internal ecosystem that is perfectly matched to you. And it doesn't matter if you're flipping hamburgers at Wendy's or you're building a fucking $1 trillion cure for cancer. It doesn't matter, because you're happy. And when you're happy and you're full, you don't need anymore. You don't even want anymore. You're like, I'm good, man. Everything is good. If that changes, so what? Apply the same things and get to that level. There's no magic to all this. It's magical. But the reason it's so important and so critical is because when you're living from your authentic core, your own default energy signature, you are living from the power that you are, not that you have, that you are. You're a creator, and you're able to create. Just like it's like surfing, you got to paddle out to get to the wave. But once you get out there and you hit that wave, it's just surfing. You're just flowing through your life, and you get to that state that everybody's trying so hard to get to, the flow state, the creative state, the days you wake up and you can just point at everything and it turns to gold, and you can walk by and go, you're pregnant, and just like fucking have this power. You feel like that most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time. And if you're living like that, it's pretty self-evident. Like, just think about what your life would be like if that's how you felt most of the time, every day of your life. What would your life look like? It's kind of like an obvious answer, right? Like, it'd look pretty good. It'd look pretty amazing, because you'd feel amazing. And that's different for everyone. That's why it's so important that we know what you want, not what you think you want, not what you're told you want. What life does your soul want to express through it? And I know this is like, sounds a little woo-woo shit, but I'm the least woo-woo person that there is in this space, I think. But really, like, whatever you believe that thing is, what life does that want to express through it? Not what do I want to get out of this world? When you focus on that, what life does this want to express through it? What does it want to experience? Does it want to experience domination? Does it want to experience superiority? Does it want to experience peace? Does it want to experience whatever, joy, freedom, isolation, whatever? Everybody wants different stuff. And when you can get to that and get honest with it, the empowerment, it's self-empowerment. You don't have to go look for all the shit out there. You go, oh, it's all in here right now. All I need is a feedback loop, like a support group that all thinks the same way. Because if you take it and you go out in the wild and you're fighting that highest energy, I don't care what kind of Titan you are, you're fucked. You're not going to make it. There's too much shit out there. So how does this make people's lives better? Because it brings them out so they can actually live their life. Because I'll tell you this real quick story about this. Like, my dad, he got pancreatic cancer when he was 53, and they gave him 3 months to live, but he lived 10. And towards the end, he was just huge. Like, his face looked like a skull, like this skin on a skull, nothing. Shoulders poking out, no muscles, atrophy to nothing. His calves were so big they were splitting open and fluids leaking out of him. His stomach was so big, the doctor said if he even rolls over wrong, that thing's gonna explode. He was like inches away from death. And I was going to pick up my daughter in California, so I stopped to see him on his way out. It was his birthday. And then the day after his birthday is when I left, and I went and saw him, and I knew it was the last time I'd see him. And so I sat down with him and I said, "Hey, Dad, you know, it's time to let go. You know, it's time to let go." And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and we both started crying, you know, and he's like, because he didn't win Dad of the Year award. He was an alcoholic, abusive. It was just like shit, complete shit. But at the end, you know, he's there and he looks at me. He's like, "Mike," shaking his head. He's like, "I pissed it all away." I'm like, "What do you mean, Dad?" He's like, "I had a gold mine with you. I had, yeah." He's like, "I had a gold mine with you. I had a son. I had all this stuff." He's like, "And look at you." He's like, "I want to stay alive. I want to be able to sneak my grandkids, my kids, a piece of candy when their dad's not looking. I want to, you know, watch you become a better man than me." He's like, "I already have. And I want to say all the things. And I want to do all this. And I want to do all the things I didn't do and say all the things I didn't say, all the things I should have done, all the things, on and on and on and on." And I'm just looking at him. I'm crying. He's crying. He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, "I pissed it all away and there's no more time." And I'm like, "It's okay, Dad. You did the best you could with what you had." And I said, "Look at me. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm sober. I went to rehab. I was married at the time. I'm married. I got a little family. I'm going to build a little family. I got a great career. I'm good, Dad. You know, I'm fine." You know, and then he just said, "You know, I'm sorry, Mike." And I said, "It's okay." And last thing he said to me was, "I'm sorry, Mike." And I left. He died that night. And I thought, that's when I like kind of realized, like, what the fuck? How many people, and it's the biggest thing on deathbeds. People regret what they regret not living for themselves, because he had dreams. He wanted to be an architect. He loved music. But just, I'm not going to go into the whole backstory of his life or my life. That's like a 6-hour thing. It's interesting, but we're not talking about that. But people wish they would have lived their lives for themselves. Because you go through your whole life doing what mommy or daddy or anybody, you got to be a doctor or a lawyer, and you don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. You don't want to, you don't want to, but you feel like that's what you have to do. But when you do what's in here, when you find that signal, because it's really dim, it's really quiet for a lot of people because it's so coated with shit and there's so much noise out here. So we just chip that shit away a little bit so we can get closer access to it. When you find that and you live from that, you're doing all the things that you want to do. And there is no regret. You can't live a life full of regret because you're not just standing at the plate watching the ball go by. You're taking the swings. You don't give a shit if you miss or not. You're swinging away, man. And the swinging away is life. That's what makes you feel like you're actively alive, because you're actively living. And so, but in order to do that, you can't. If you just keep going from thing to thing, you're still just going to keep building a life for other people. Well, other people say you should, because people don't even know themselves. I know it sounds silly, but they don't. They don't even know what they are. They don't know. They don't know themselves. How could they? The world says this is what you are. This is what you should be. If you're not this, you're punished. If you're this, you're rewarded. I think I'll do the rewarded part because that sounds like a more fun thing, right? And so everybody's all fucked up, and they don't know who they are. They don't know what they are. So once you get to that point and you start living as you're naturally designed to live, you might be the best basket weaver in the world. You might be the most awesome quilt maker. You might be an athlete. There was a guy, one of the guys in our mentoring group, and he's a math teacher, and just an average looking dude walking around. You'd never think anything of him. You probably wouldn't even notice him in the mall. Just an average looking guy walking around. But I watched a video of him on Facebook, and he's like lip syncing this rap song, and I'm like, damn, he's good, man. He's like, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, wait a minute. He's not lip syncing. He's actually rapping. And I'm like, no. So I rewind it. And I'm like, son of a bitch. And when I looked at him, when I looked in his eyes and I kind of watched his body language and I kind of felt his heart while I was watching him and observing him, I'm like, you son of a bitch. And I immediately messaged him. I said, you're not a math teacher. And he's like, what? I'm like, you're not a math teacher, dude. When you perform your art, when you express your life and your energy through music that you write and make like that, you come alive and you feel alive. He's like, yeah, you know I do. I'm like, yeah, I know. So do more of that. Do more of that. Burn more of that shit away of like, oh, you're a math teacher. You're not a fucking math teacher, dude. You got no business. Some people are. Some people are like Goodwill Hunting or whatever, the math. They're fucking crazy with math. But he wasn't. And so, you know, when you watch this for decades and you watch people come alive and you watch what happens with their life because of that, because they're actually doing it for them. Every single person I went to rehab with was there by court order or mandate. I chose to go. I checked myself in. I'm the only person that stayed sober. When you choose your life for you because it feels right to you, not because of what expectations and demands of the world are saying, I don't know the words to explain it. Everything just starts to amplify and expand till you get to a point where you're like, I am happy. And then there's people like, no, never be happy. Always more, 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 more. That's the problem with the world. Like, why get 7 apples when you can have all the apples? Because fuckface, you don't need all the apples. Like, leave them alone. Leave the apples alone. You don't need them. Like, you're making 1 apple pie for God's sake. You need 7 apples. Calm down with your shit. But that's part of what's wrong with like the way people think. Like all of it. That's not how nature works. It's not how nature works. One tree doesn't get all the water. It's crazy. Yeah. But so if you just listen to that, you'll get everything you need. Everything you need. And then your life. And another one, good enough is the enemy of great. No, it's not. Good enough is where you want to be. And all these high achiever sayings and stuff, like, fuck with people's minds. There's so much contradiction. Like, there is no try. There's only do or do not. Okay. And you go to the next page. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Well, what the fuck is it? What's going on here? Right? You just can't win until it's you telling you what the hell you need to hear. And it's all in there. You need help, you need guidance. We need each other to do this stuff. But still, the whole idea of like this good enough stuff. No, if it's good enough, that means you're happy and joy-filled and fulfilled and you feel whole and you feel complete. How is that not great? Please, someone tell me how that's not great. Because if it's not good enough, it's like a sandwich. Oh, it's almost good enough, but I just need a tomato. Boom, good enough. Boom. It's semantics. Now it's a great sandwich. It's a sandwich that's great for you. It's good enough for you. You enjoy it. You like it. You eat it. You have a good time. Take the tomato off of mine. I don't want tomato, whatever. So all these things confuse the shit out of people. When you are able to get more to where you're listening to your own soul, spirit, fucking source code from Narnia, I don't know, whatever the hell people want to call it. You're connected to. We are anyway. Everything's all connected, but you're connected to this pool of collective wisdom, and answers and shit just start coming in. And it's just like when you're writing, you get in possessed mode, and you get done like, what happened? And you read it and go, well, I've done this so many times. I'm like, God, who the fuck? I gotta find out who wrote this, man. This is a good. Oh, I wrote it. Holy shit! Remember. So it helps. It's not just something that helps. I think it is the number one foundational thing. The only thing that matters is you start to understand how you work, and you maximize that, you optimize it, you get vulnerable, and you let yourself feel things, even if they're not comfortable, and you express them through your ability to write or to sing or to dance or to do whatever you do, to express it, to build stuff, to break stuff, whatever it is. But that is the foundation, the bedrock for all of life. You want a good, fulfilled, happy life? Strip away all the shit that's not you and just leave you there to build it and watch what happens. I've seen it over and over and thousands of times, probably more than thousands through the course of how long I've been doing this. So it's not just something that helps. It's something that you have to do before you make any next big moves, because if you don't, you're making it, oh, this is the next big move because what's the hormone guy? Hormonesy, Alex Hormozy.
Oh, Hormozy, Alex Hormozy.
Yeah. Oh, this is what you got to do now because this guy said so, and he had like 400 billion people on a webinar. Oh my God. What if you don't like that music? What if doesn't match with you? Like, those are strategies and tactics, and you can weave those into the art. You can weave the science into the art, but you got to know the art first. You got to know the art first. So anybody can learn the science. Nobody in this world can learn your art. Nobody. It's only for you. It's you and you alone, exclusively to you. So we could say the same thing. We could walk up to the same person, say the exact same words, and have two completely different responses or interpretations of what we said to somebody, because our energies are all different. And it's all about energy. It's all about, like, not in some weird way. It's all just, it's energy. It's literally electrical energy creating thoughts, chemical energy, creating feelings, emotional energy that make you do stuff, and mechanical energy that builds stuff, that does the things that does stuff. So it's something that not just can help, it's paramount, it's critical to really getting off the hamster wheel of the gurudom and all that shit, which I know it's a tough thing. It's kind of a nuanced thing, but still, because there are things you can learn and wisdom from everybody, but you got to do it coming from you. And if you can't get to you, if you can't first start off by identifying at least one thing that you want to have, one target, then we throw that shit over there, because all the target is, it's a big old X on a map. You're here, the target's here. Now you have a fucking purpose, a reason, a path to create to get to that target. It's simple. It's so simple. So it's paramount to anybody really maximizing their potential and living their best life, as they say.
Yeah. Oh man. So somebody says to me, I have to work with this guy. Put me in touch? Where do I send him?
The best place to start is powerlifechallenge.com. That's really the what do you call it? I can't think of. See, I'm these words things are hard, man. Trying to think of all these damn words.
It's the gateway drug to Mike Kemski.
Yeah, it's the starting point, because it's very broken down into bite size, like they call it, my marketing people, whatever they call it, pedestrian stuff. It's very broken down into bite sized pieces that allows you to go through the process once, so you can get to the point where you can hit that bullseye a little bit, and then from that point, like, okay, I want more. I see me. This isn't about the Mike Kemski show or power. No one gives a shit about me or my principles or what I do. They give a shit about themselves. So when they see themselves and they go, yeah, I want more of that. Great. Then in that process, they can get in touch with me for more. Or people can reach out to me directly on Facebook. That's probably the easiest way, just through Facebook Messenger. But I'm not too hard to find. I don't respond all the time right away because, of course, we're busy with stuff. But I'm happy to talk to anybody.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic interview. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Hey, we all want to scale our business. Hey, I have the answer for you today to help you do that. If you're looking to scale from 5, 6, even 7 figures and beyond, book called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. I'm going to give it to you for free. All you have to do is type in growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and you can download the book for absolutely free. I hope the book helps you this year. Take your business to the next level. Again, go grab the book, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. I wish you the best, and grow, scale, and win.
Thanks for listening to Pivot Perspectives with your host, Chris O'Byrne. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advice on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.
There it is. Magnum. Holy moly.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
Dear God, it's beautiful.